The thought that that young man had to endure everything he endured that mentally messed him up.
Yep.
That mentally messed him up to the point where he could not escape the hell that he was living in mentally, that he took his life.
His own life. Yep.
Debtors Prison. The next topic that we're going to talk about is probably going to be a little heavy. Debtors Prison is a real thing that young people, especially young Black people, need to know about. Akua Page created a TikTok video, which she later posted on Twitter requesting assistance for her mother, Katie Page, who was wrongfully incarcerated for a debt she never incurred. Katie, Mama Page, is a 56-year-old grandma of 5 and mom of 6 who has been unlawfully and unethically incarcerated without criminal charge or due process. She's being held in Charleston County Detention Center for failure to pay a debt to an attorney of whom she was not a client and is being held liable for legal fees not beholden to her. Katie missed her eye surgery scheduled for Friday, August 6th, due to her being unlawfully sent to jail and sentenced to 180 days without a bond on Tuesday, August 3rd. Katie did not commit a crime. Her only crime is poverty. Influencers such as Jay Versace used their platforms to boost Akua's message and stated they basically kidnapped her mother and are now threatening her safety for speaking up. I need y'all to retweet. COVID-19 numbers are rising in Charleston, and Jamal Sutherland, a Black man with a history of mental illness, died at this Charleston County jail on January 5th, shortly after jail deputies repeatedly fired their tasers at him. So, what say ye?
Well, anything with Black people in prison, you have to talk about the criminal justice system. And it was designed for this reason. So we know that if she had access to proper counsel, we would not even be speaking about this. So anything about this story will always go back to how prisons were made and why they were made.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would love to know what the statistics of how many non-Black people went to jail for their debt. So minus the fact that she's even in jail because of something she didn't do. But I've heard of like men going to jail because they have they're in arrears with their child support and all that kind of stuff. So I've heard that in the past, but this whole debt thing, then most of America should be in jail.
Right.
Because
okay, but go ahead.
No, because so many people are in debt. So the first lane is that she's falsely accused of this crime. So it wasn't her debt that she went to jail for. So that's the sad part. The second part is the whole debt thing. It's like, do you really think people should be going to jail because of their debt? And if they're going to jail because of their debt, is it everyone that is in debt really bad, or is it just Black people that are going to jail for their debt?
Well, here's my question. How is it if debtors prison was actually abolished and the Supreme Court ruled it is unconstitutional, how are people still going and how are people being jailed for debt today? Because it's something that has been abolished.
Right. But
and the Supreme Court has ruled it as unconstitutional. Now, the other question is, if this is an attorney that this person has never used, then how did they link this debt to this person?
Yeah.
Was it a crime of somebody using this person's identity?
Fraud.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So now it begs so many questions that if you know that this wasn't you, then did you take the steps to see if someone was out there using your identity? Did you start calling all of the, different places of credits and even reporting it to the Social Security Administration for them to also check? Because you don't have to pay to do that.
Mhm.
Right.
So I'm just confused by this story as to how is it this woman is incarcerated for a debt that wasn't even her debt, incarcerated for something that has been abolished, and the Supreme Court has ruled that it's unconstitutional. How is it that this woman is incarcerated for this today? And who represented her?
But that's why I said, if she probably had a public,
Defender.
Okay, but
Defender.
then we can't, but then not all public defenders aren't
true.
doing anything for people.
That's true.
So to say public defender does seem like, public defenders isn't doing anything for people. And
Not all, but
right, not
a
all
lot
public
of them.
defenders aren't
But a
doing
lot of
it.
them also have an enormous caseload
That
that,
is true.
Yeah.
they're so backlogged
Yep.
that
Right.
it's
Yep.
ridiculous. But then you also got to think of the fact that Charleston is in South Carolina, where a lot of my family is from, and Dylan Roof committed the heinous crime that he committed in Charleston, South Carolina. They just took down the Confederate flag like 2 days ago in Charleston, South Carolina. So there's a lot of pieces that are against, Miss Page, unfortunately.
Now,
Yeah.
is this, here's my other question. Is this because you guys know I always go here? Is it a racial thing or is it classism? So is it racism or classism? Because
I
is this
think this
something?
situation is both, because I'm sure that there are white people that do not have the funds
of course.
having to deal with stuff like this. But it just seems to me like, I can never not think of Kalief Browder, and that
Right,
was
who-
that's in New York.
His bail was what, $1,200 or $1,000?
And they couldn't afford it.
And-
Not even the amount of the bail. The fact
No, the
that
amount-
he was
no,
in
no, no.
solitary confinement as
The
a
amount, but
16-year-old.
here's the thing, the amount of the bail is the issue.
Right.
No, I understand
amount-
that. That's why he wasn't able to
Right.
get out. But
The
the fact
amount
that they
of-
put a
right.
16-year-old in solitary confinement.
But that's what came after. The
After,
thing
right.
with that is, it was the amount, the issue was the amount of the bail.
Of the bail
couldn't
that the mother could
afford
not
that.
afford.
If his peoples had the money for the bail, he would have been bailed out, and all he had to do was go to court.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
It starts
And-
there.
Yeah.
It
and-
starts
and-
with bail reform.
And so that's where that issue came in, where they couldn't, and that's why I'm trying to remember the dollar amount. Was it $1,000 or was it $1,200? It was something that we spend on pocketbooks.
Right. Well,
And his
you,
family-
not me, but
Girlfriend, you got Louis Vuitton bags and all that. What you talking about, Willis?
it was a
listen,
gift.
But your gift can be sold, and you
True.
can sell your bag to
True.
bail that
Yes.
child out of jail.
Yes.
Right. You got a good
Yes.
point. You got a point there. You got a
Yes.
point.
You understand what I'm saying?
True.
So to think that his peoples could, between all of his peoples and his mom, couldn't go to anyone to
Right.
get $1,000 or $1,200 to bail him out is what led into, it was the rippling effect.
It was a chain
of what
reaction. Right.
happened to the
Sorry, his
point
bail
where
was set at $3,000.
It was a $3,000 bail?
His bail was set at $3,000.
I don't remember it being that.
That much.
I'm
$1,000.
reading it right now.
I remember my son and his friend getting arrested, and I remember rushing down to bail him out so that they didn't take him on the bus to Rikers Island. And that was 2 teenagers. The thought that that young man had to endure everything he endured that mentally messed him up.
Yep.
That mentally messed him up to the point where he could not escape the hell that he was living in mentally, that he took his life.
Whole life. Yep.
Well, I go on mini homes, and from one extreme to the next, I go into rich homes and I go into poor homes. And there are many poor homes that don't have $400 in their account, unfortunately. I remember listening to Bloomberg radio, and they said that 70% of this country, so this is scary, 70%, this was as of 2 years ago, I don't know how it is now, 70% of this country, that when their car breaks down, 70% of this country does not have $1,000 cash to get their car fixed.
Yeah.
They might have the credit, but they don't have cash in their account to get their car fixed. So that's a big problem. So going back to the whole debt thing, yeah, there's a lot of people that have credit and can charge something, but there's a lot that don't have that cash in their account to pay for something straight up. So,
And then when you're being when you have debt and you're being penalized or imprisoned for a debt that you did not even incur.
That's where I'll be honest with you. I think that's the part that I'm struggling with. How, because if you retain this attorney, what would you have to do when you retain an attorney? What's one thing you have to do when you retain an
Sign
attorney?
your name.
Y'all would have to show me that that's my signature.
but you know what, Keith? A lot of people don't have that knowledge. There's a lot of people who are walking around with barely a 12th grade education, barely.
And I mean, I do have to
don't have common sense. They really don't.
I do have to go to them, the wrongfully accused, but there are stats that show that people confess
The crimes that they did not commit.
They did not commit.
Because they're in this room, and then the good cop is saying, well, if you say this, you'll go home. So it's just like, if you don't get food, then water, and they're saying, well, just say this, and then then
we'll let you go.
Right. So I don't know the full story. I can see how she may have gotten coerced, or so
So this is what I need. This is what I need for her family to do then, because that could very well be the case. However, if you're going to make sure that you get this story out there, that means that you have some sense and some knowledge on knowing that you can start asking and requesting for documentation, proof. If you know that your mom did not use this attorney, you want them to show you the documents. I need to see these documents. It's your right to see this information. You need to start calling the credit bureau to start reporting fraud on your mother's information. I know people who've had new Social Security cards issued to them because of fraud.
And I totally agree with you 1,000%. But when I go into homes where poor people are living, a lot of times it's simple.
Listen to what I'm saying, though. Listen to what I'm saying. If the daughter had enough sense to get this story put out there, that means you know how to use the computer.
I agree with you.
You know how to use Google at this point. You know everybody think Google.
One of the arguments I have with a lot of poor families is, and me and a social worker were talking about this the other day. One of the arguments I have with a lot of poor families is that for some reason, like the social worker will come in and she would give them all the information. The problem is they have to do the steps. And the social worker will say, these are the steps that you need to do.
And a lot of times when the social worker is talking to you, it's a lot of information that they're giving you all at once. Yeah. And some people get overwhelmed and they just black out.
Like, going back to what you're saying, Keith, I go to many homes where the young girls are in there, and I'll say to them, you know how to Google, you know how to go on YouTube, you know how to do, all you have to do. I'll come back 2 weeks later, nothing has been started, but they be on their phone, they be doing all kind of stuff, and I be getting frustrated because I'm like, you expected us to get your mom or dad Medicaid or get them all this extra help, and they've given you a game plan, and you're not even doing it.
Well, Keisha, that's not even due to ignorance. That's just due to being lazy.
Well,
Or both,
laziness.
or D, all of the above.
but then I go into many rich homes where they don't need all that help, but they get the help because we tell them what to do from A through Z, and they do A through Z. They go back over A through Z. They do it again, A through Z. And I'm like,
I'm a part of that household.
It's kind, but see, with this,
I'm gonna try to get everything just like everybody else.
a lot of times too, it has to do with education and people understanding, comprehending the little fine print. You'll be surprised. A lot of people, when you go on a website or when you go and you look at the legal stuff, and if you don't have reading comprehension skills,
Right. So it's not education. So it's not education. It's comprehension. Not education, comprehension. Because we have a ton of people at a graduate degree level that
can't comprehend how to turn on the power.
Going back to what you're saying about, because I can, if I had the time, I would do a poll on how many households I've gone to that are poor that don't do the steps that are told for them to do. And it's like, well, maybe when because the thing is, one thing with these social workers, they'll tell them what they need to do, but they're not sitting there going on the website and pressing the buttons with them. There's sometimes some patients will be honest with them and say, listen, I need somebody to hold me by the hand. And a social worker will do that for them. But there's situations where the social worker come in and she's like, all right, you need to go on this website. You need to fill out these applications. Once you fill out these applications, you need to go to part B. And once they do that, they get lost. They're like, nah, I'm good. And it's like,
then just give up.
They give up. And it's like, you can't tell me that is because you're lazy. Something is not connecting. So going back to this young lady, I'm just in general, because I'm pretty sure
it's really like hard to really say anything about this case from
the bits and
the
pieces.
legal standpoints, because
it doesn't make sense.
Get all of the, like, was she coerced? Did she have proper counsel? What did she sign? It's just so much that we don't
know.
Like no. So it's hard to say if
not all, if all of the facts are there.
If it's because of poverty, lack of attorney, the prosecutorial misconduct. Is just so much that you just don't know. And
you know what? Have you ever been in court for just a stupid ticket? And when you go in there, you be feeling so dumb. Like they literally treat everybody like cattle. And the lawyer
when I had to go to court, back to family court years ago when Chris was a little kid, and I went into the courtroom with the judge, and she was so nasty. She was just like, where are the fact findings? Where are the finding of facts? And she's saying that to me. And I was 25 or something like that at the time. I had no idea what she was talking about. And I was just like, I don't know what you're talking. And I said, I don't know what you're talking. She literally screamed on me and was like, get out of my courtroom until you figure out what you're doing.
See, that's not right. That's not right. And so you can
this was in Queens Court.
You can only imagine what this mother and her daughter went through, especially when they see, only God knows what they look like coming to court too. So that's another story, but I ain't gonna go there.
I tried to, put myself together, but she was so disgustingly nasty to me. And I was just like, see, this is why I don't want to be in this court system. But being poor should not be a crime ever.
But in a way.
But so you got to keep in mind. So now, like for example, one time I went to court because he had an accident that was not his fault, and he got a ticket for the accident that was not his fault. So I was like, we couldn't figure out how the fuck, excuse my French, how you get a ticket for an accident that's not your fault. So in court talking to the judge and asking him, I really don't understand the rules around here. Can you explain? That judge was livid. you know, he made it like a comment like, well, what if I came to court without the money to pay for the ticket? He said, well, I guess you're spending the night in jail until somebody can bring the money for you. So he was just like straight evil to the fact that he was asking questions regarding the case.
Because I guess everybody has the law acumen to go to court and know. And this is why now I get a lawyer, because my attorney.
That's the first thing they say, that you have the right to remain
I get
silent
an attorney,
and the right to
a lot of people
attorney.
when you work for certain companies, they give you the option to have legal counsel through your plan at work. So yeah, you can get, you know, a legal, even you can order it yourself, have a legal plan, you know, on a monthly basis just to get legal questions answered. Now, because this system sucks. Just knowing what happened to Kalief and his family,
what it was meant to do.
Right.
It doesn't suck.
But see, but this is the part that pisses me off, because Kalief killed himself. Obviously, we know that. His family was awarded $3.3 million in a settlement, right?
The
of taxpayer money. Of taxpayer money.
Yes.
So you continually degrade, rape Black and brown people. And then when something happens and the light is now shined on y'all evil,
shine a light on them.
Hey, give them a check. But have the people that live here pay for it.
Yeah.
Which leads me to our next and final point. Bishop Talbot Swan, he had tweeted something, and it was very interesting to me. It said $5 billion hate crime bill for Asians, executive order protecting LGBTQIA people, $6 billion to resettle Afghan refugees, $450,000 worth of reparation checks to families settled at the border that were not settled, that were what? Separated at the border. Nothing for Black people.
Yeah.
But Dems want our midterm votes. That was what the caption said. Now, election day was just the other day, and people were shocked at the little brouhaha that happened at the polls, because it appeared that Dems was just like, who them?
Murphy, they had to go to the bottom of the box and find votes for
Girl, Murphy, they had to literally, they had to come down to the, get that, you know, get that last bit of paper. But
and Lord,
this is the problem. Now, everything that's on that list, I'm not saying that it shouldn't be done. I'm not saying that these people should not, you know, get, you know, what's just due to them. But how long are we supposed to wait for you to say, I'm sorry, let me right my wrongs?
You know, that makes me so angry to the point where, like, I want to scream and cry. I really do. It hurts my feelings. I mentioned it in the show, a couple shows before, when I had mentioned that, you know, how they abruptly, like, everything was quick. They got all these people, thousands of people on the plane. They put them in Airbnbs with no freaking question. And that's why I don't take politics seriously. You know, you tell us you're going to get us free lunches. You tell us all this good crap to get us good old Black folks to the polls. We go and vote, because that's what our ancestors killed themselves or suffered for us to do.
Killed for, right.
Or killed for, and we still are not getting what we deserve. It took, well, how many Asians got under 100? Under 100, a bill was made.
A whole bill and billions.
Listen,
in dollars.
it really irks the crap out of me to the point where I'm on a spiritual level with this.
Girl,
can't
on a
understand.
spiritual level.
I
You
can't
got
understand.
families that, and you know, when it was happening under the Trump administration, who they still have yet to even say, oh, we made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But now you have these people that are in America. Who knows where these people's kids are?
Mhm.
But guess what? We still don't know where our kids are.
Mm-hmm.
You
Hello, good
want to
night.
know how I know where I come from? Up until this day, I probably had to pay a little under $1,000 just to find out what my ancestry is.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Crazy.
Yep.
Just to find out where I come from, because you took me,
Mm-hmm.
took my peoples.
Yep.
I saw Obama, and you know what? Obama's a nice guy. But you know what? I don't give two shits about how nice he may be. And I'm literally, and I know you thought I would never hear me say that
A Barry fan.
about
Mhm.
Barry.
Mhm.
Because you know I'm a Barry fan,
Mhm.
you know? But I saw him campaigning for Terry, what is it, McAuliffe? St. Olive in Virginia.
St. Olive.
This
Hi, Rose.
This sucker, yeah, Rose Nyland. This sucker that won in Virginia primarily ran on the fact that he was going to make sure that the critical race theory did not make it to
Did
our
not
schools.
make, yeah.
But critical race theory
He
is
ran
not taught.
on.
A lie.
He ran on the Jewish space lasers.
But
He ran on something that did not exist.
the thing is that the
Space.
Dems
And what?
don't. But the Dems don't do the loud, and they do the woo woo. Let us all be one. We'll work together. Let's grow. Let's be
Mhm.
better. So like you will always tend to go with who's speaking the biggest
The biggest and the
and the
loudest.
loudest.
They were.
wait.
They actually had. I saw on the news. They had a white man at a district meeting for the school, and he gave an interview. They were just like, "Well, what grade is your child in?" "Oh, I don't have any kids in the school system, but I want to make sure that these kids here have."
Well,
You don't even have
I
kids.
just wanna piggyback on what Shauna said, because I actually spoke with someone who lives in the state of Virginia. And we were talking about it, and they asked, well, when you went out, did your candidate, the people that you voted for, did they fare well? And I said, I said, so tell me what's, how is it out there? And her response was, well, the Democratic candidate, you didn't really see much of that person campaigning. But every 2 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
there was commercials, there was
Yep.
posters.
Same thing with Murphy.
It was the loudest.
It was so much in your face and in your ear that there was no way that, and although they won by, it was like, what it came up to, like 49-50.
Yeah, it was a very small margin.
It was a small margin. However, she said that the campaigner was like this. The campaigner was like this. It was like this. It was like this. It was like this. And then, when you get the Trumpy, supporting this candidate, although the candidate didn't acknowledge Trump's support.
He was like.
But you have all of those people who believe in Trumpy, and then you have the people who are anti-vaxxers.
Right.
Because that was another thing.
Mhm.
The anti-vaxxers, there are people who are walking around with no mask that haven't been vaccinated, and they don't feel that they need to be, whatever. So that was a lot of what was happening, and it showed at the polls.
But that's the same thing they did with Trump. They showed the stats of we got just flooded with Trump all
Yeah.
day, all night. He was on nonstop. So
We're
it's just
inundated.
like whoever is the biggest and says that one thing, he said that one
That clicks
thing,
on your
that critical race theory won't be taught to kids. And it's just
They're
like,
trying to make white kids feel bad about
bad.
themselves.
Okay,
Got
well,
Condoleezza Rice
we
and
got
her.
Condoleezza Rice saying we shouldn't make white children feel bad.
Black children
So
been
we
feeling
had to
bad
learn.
for-
We had
for
to
400
learn
years.
history. We had to learn history the way you chose to teach it to us.
Yep.
Right.
Everybody knew Columbus sailed the ocean blue in
Sacagawea willingly,
1492.
listen, Sacagawea willingly wanted to help Lewis and Clark. She willingly, she was a willing participant. She wanted to help Lewis and Clark, right? Sacagawea really wanted to help Lewis and Clark.
Slaves were cared for. Even Sally Hemings had a beautiful relationship, a loving relationship
With her slave.
with good old Thomas Jefferson.
Hmm.
They loved one another. They were they're our first
slave
interracial
trade.
relationship.
The slave trade was more like the Carnival cruise, you know, they came to work, you know. I'm just saying, but that's how they make it sound
Diligently.
like we came over in chains.
We came over there
On top of
drumming.
each
You're
other.
drumming.
The
Well, working the fields,
children were
man.
children were sent to work at other plantations that needed help.
Right. They make it,
And these
you
kids,
know,
they
seem
didn't
like
want,
it was this great
listen,
thing.
they didn't want to learn how to read or write. They were happy with, working.
Working.
They were happy when their wives were raped in front of them,
And husbands too.
and
Husbands
husbands.
too.
Oh, they only breeded them. They only breeded them because they had banned the actual transatlantic slave trade, so they couldn't bring any more. So they
So
needed
they
to breed
had to
them.
do something.
They needed to breed the ones that were
All
here.
right.
So
No, because
we could
you want to
take it,
sanitize your
but they
nasty,
can't.
vicious, violent, vulgar ways. Because you don't want your people to feel bad. Listen, I'm going to tell you, you want me to tell you what they said? Truth hurts.
Mm-hmm.
The truth hurts. So if you get in truth and you get your feelings hurt, then
Oh,
oh
well.
well.
And like they tell us, get over it.
Get
Get
over it.
over it.
Right. Get over it.
Shakalaka,
Put a Band-Aid on it.
put a Band-Aid on it.
Boom.
But yet, my Jewish brothers and sisters that have had to go through the Holocaust and be slaughtered in the heinous ways that they were slaughtered, but got they rule book, they guidebook
Mhm.
from America.
Yep.
So this is very interesting that you say that because
Wait, repeat that. Repeat that. Repeat that.
Mr. Nasty, murderous, evil, vicious Hitler got his rule book from America.
Say that one more time.
You heard what I had said. Got
Rewind.
the rule book from America.
And what did he? And what was
But
those things
listen,
that he
listen.
learned? And what was those things that he learned from that said their rule book? Because
Did you
even
see how I
they
looked
thought,
away?
because
Fashion
even they thought
Brady.
even they thought that some of the things that was being done in America was a little harsh.
But a little too harsh. They was like, oh no.
but
It's
let me
wrong.
ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. How are you in Germany and you are able to escape Germany from what they were doing to you, and you came over here with nothing but the shirt on your back and were given thousands of dollars to start a business? How did that happen?
The
Thousands?
color of their skin.
Thousands?
Thousands of
It all
dollars.
comes back.
Well,
to
how were you in Korea
System.
and you came to America and did not know how to speak a lick of English? And when you came over here, you were given fruit and enough money to open up a fruit and vegetable stand. How did that happen?
Okay, but you do know, but you do know, but you do know.
Physicist and you could have partaken in the heinous crimes over in Auschwitz.
But how come Germany?
But guess what America did? Guess what America did? America flew you.
So how did it happen where Germany didn't give them their 40 acres and a mule, but America did?
But America gave the nasty German doctors that was working for Hitler 40 acres and a mule and washed their damn record.
So what does that say to you?
Nazis.
It goes back to skin.
Right.
And we are always on the bottom of the barrel. And
You want to
people
talk
still
about you want to sit up
look
here
at it
and
saying, how come y'all don't have what we have? Y'all so lazy. How come y'all don't have what we have?
You see that picture?
Yesterday.
You see that picture? You gonna sit up here and you gonna quote Dr. Martin Luther King and talk about how he was just a man of peace. Martin Luther King. You gonna quote him. But yet he was on your terrorist list, your domestic terrorist list, along with my brother Malcolm.
Crazy.
But now you want to quote him about how he was such a great man?
Yeah. Because they want us to be as peaceful, because they're like, wait, y'all acting a little too niggerish. Y'all need to act like how Martin and his crew was.
J. Edgar Hoover and his let me shut up, and all of the stuff he did, y'all naming buildings after him, naming streets,
Yesterday, I was in the city and I was driving by, and this white homeless man was trying to attack the police that was standing on the corner. He was picking up the garbage can, and the police kept on, stop.
And did they shoot him? Did they shoot him?
Stop. They kept on, the police was walking away from him.
What?
Well,
yes.
you know, the garbage can
was
could be
standing there
considered
looking.
a deadly weapon.
And you just see another Black person across the street, and he's just like, yo, beat his ass. Like, beat his ass. Beat his ass. And
It's really bad. It's really,
and
really,
me and my
really
friend
bad.
was in the car driving because we stopped to watch. And we was just like, if it was one of us,
It would have been a total.
Black friend, that would have never happened.
It would have been all over.
No,
And
they would have shot him up and then sprinkled crack all over him.
Right. And the crazy thing about it, then the policeman's friends came over and they just surrounded him and was just watching him. I was just like, it would have had 10 or more people on our neck.
The news would have said that the cops had to kill in self-defense from
a man wielding a garbage can.
A hostile.
Right. And he was
like,
antagonizing the people on the street.
Spin.
He was antagonizing people that were walking by. He kept on leaping at them, and the guy, the policeman was like, "Stop!
He shot.
Stop!"
20 times.
Totally
like,
different.
They all would have had their guns out and would have shot him several times.
But you know what? There's a day of reckoning coming, and I really feel that in the bottom of my heart, because I just said that my people perish for a lack of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
There are some of us that want to stay asleep, that want to keep on, woo-woo-wooing the oppressor. But there are some white people, there are some people of all hues that are woke as I don't know what, and they just like, nah, this ain't cool.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But then there are some that want to keep up the status quo. They want to keep things as they were.
Keep the
And they
lie
know,
alive.
keep the lie alive. But
keep the lie alive.
You don't even want your children to be taught truth. Because
that's
because
the part that's so it's just disgusting.
It's their feelings. It's
Anytime,
that white
any politician that I follow
fragility.
that tweets or says something about we gotta build back better. No, what you need to do is keep your promise. Because remember on election night when they did well, it wasn't even election night because nigga they ain't even let you win until 18 months later.
Like 3 days later.
Well, when they did they acceptance speech,
It was like 3 days
got
later.
scared by the fireworks, remember?
Oh yeah. When her husband had fell to the ground.
Yeah, we're talking But when he was just like, and I know you black people put me in office and I'm not gonna forget it. Remember? I know it was you that got me here and I'm not gonna forget it.
But listen, a lot of people have been saying that man has Alzheimer's. And I'm starting to believe it. I was like, nah, that nigga ain't got
He ain't
Alzheimer's.
got no Alzheimer's.
Where Kamala go?
I'm our
Where
president.
Kamala go? Where
He ain't
Kamala
got
at?
no Alzheimer's.
Is Kamala still at the border? Where's Kamala?
He ain't got no. He
Where's
ain't got
Kamala?
no Alzheimer's.
I ain't seen Kamala in I think since the inauguration. Where's she at? If y'all really think moving forward, y'all gonna win an election with us, I'm gonna be honest with you. Election day, because I said I was gonna send my ballot in early, I didn't. My voting booth closed over here at 8 o'clock. I dragged my ass over there at 7:47. I was like,
I'm doing this for the ancestors.
That got me the only reason why you go now. It's like, you know what?
They
I'm
fought
doing
you
this for y'all.
hard for this.
I swear to God.
They fought hard.
you know that was what Juanita was like, girl, you know I only went because you know our ancestors.
That's it.
It was like today marks the day that they killed 50 people trying to vote. I was like, oh, let me go get my car and drive over to the polls.
They died. So like we could have that right. That's the only reason
That's scary.
why most of us
And
go
that's
there.
sad. And that's really sad.
And like I said, it really like
Because it's not for them.
we here,
Right.
we here doing a little laughing, but it really hurts my soul.
It does.
It really
Definitely.
bothers me.
Definitely.
I feel like if I could, I would go to another planet. I
Right.
would. This
No,
right-
Jeff Bezos already got that on lock.
Who got that? You said?
Jeff Bezos already got that on lock.
No, and then you know they ain't gonna have us over there.
If
You about to board the plane or the spaceship? Oh, we just raised the ticket to $1 million.
yeah,
Sorry, like they'll make sure that every time
They
they
keep on pushing that bar.
they move
they're
on.
like, you are nuts. Unless
And-
we gotta pick some cotton, we don't need you over here, nigga.
They
Mm-mm.
they
America is
really have to do something before these midterms because it's not, they will lose the house.
Yeah.
They're going to.
They're gonna
They
lose
already
the
lost
house.
the house.
Yeah.
What can you say next time? Like, oh yeah, okay, I know we told y'all that we was gonna do this, but let me backtrack.
See, what had happened was
Yeah. My savings and my my checking.
They gotta do something. They
So,
have to.
After we done gave
decide.
all this money to Afghanistan and to the gays and we
And the
didn't have no more money.
pandemic and COVID happened.
Yeah.
You know,
but don't you worry, it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
yeah.
It's
I
coming.
want to know how many, because clearly maybe that's just not in the news cycle. How many Mexicans at the border or people at the border have you seen protesting about them being separated from their families? Nobody? Nobody seen? I seen a whole bunch of people protesting about George Floyd.
Mhm.
And about every other incident that has happened in this country.
You're right. Yes, right. You know what? You make a point. Like you didn't see them Mexican Americans protesting up and down the street.
They ain't Mexican Americans. They're not citizens. They're not citizens. Remember,
Well,
they
I'm
were
saying that
trying to get into the country. So
No,
how is
no,
it-
what Keisha is saying,
that.
but Keisha is saying the ones that are
Americans-
here, right?
Right.
But
Yeah,
what
they
I'm
were
saying is the $450,000 that they trying to give to the Mexican Americans that was separated, they're not citizens of the United States.
Yeah.
But
Well,
you
you
have
know,
people
it's
that
so-
look like the five of
It's
us.
so crazy. It's so crazy because
I'm a citizen.
And that's why we
an
had some
American.
debates. We had some debates before, and
I'm an American, damn it.
I'm an
about
American.
just a lot of stuff that be going on in this country where I had gave the analogy, like say you had your tent parked out in the parking lot to get your tickets to a concert, and you was there all night long waiting to get them tickets. And when they open that window in the morning, all these mofos come from God knows where and get the first set of tickets.
And you're just like, wait a minute.
Parked out here for God knows how long, and you mofos came from the bushes, came from the hills, and got your ticket before me. Yes.
it's just still really interesting because, you know, as Black women, we will speak and we will advocate for what we feel should be done for our people. And I do take into consideration other people. But I actually take into consideration, I consider the real Americans and what has been done to the real Americans in their country.
Yeah.
And I think of the fact that they placed them on reservations in their country. They're still poisoning their land till this day. They were protesting about what was happening with their
That
land.
Dakota pipeline, yep, sure
That's
enough.
true.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's true.
There's other people who benefited by saying that they had a
drop.
smidgen, not even a drop, a smidgen of their blood in them to take advantage of educational expenses and other things.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it's just
I could have did that, but
I think they had as
it.
much as Eve got with one stream. However that percentage is, that's what they had.
I could have did that, but I didn't do that because I got a great grandmother who's full blooded.
Listen, I got the
I'll be
proof.
honest with you. I will be honest with you. I think all of us could have done that.
Of course.
You understand what I'm saying? Because we know that we did mesh with one another.
Yes.
Yes.
So, you know, I say that to say, it just shows that America, well, fake America, picks and chooses
What they want to do.
what they want to do and whom they would
But
like
why
to
does it
do
seem
it.
like we're always the ones that never get it?
But that's what I'm saying, Keisha. I don't know
It's
if
like there's like an omen on us. It's just something
but
that
I do think that there is still some, and I hate to say this, I do feel that we still kind of got more than other people did.
What
but
other people?
what bothers me is okay, so I'm gonna
Than the
use
real
Afghanistan-
Americans.
I'm
Than the
gonna
real
use
Americans.
Afghanistan for example.
Because they're still struggling. The real
Mhm.
Americans are still struggling in their own country.
Mhm.
I would tend to agree. I mean,
You get
yes,
what
in their
I'm
own
I
saying?
get what you're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
It's more of us that are
Yeah,
getting
a lot of them are going missing, and don't nobody even care.
And that exactly. No one speaks about it. It's not
Mhm.
even on the news.
Yep.
You know, we get shot and it's on the news.
Mhm.
Sometimes.
Women disappear
And
and no one
Nobody
talks
says
about
anything.
it.
Mhm.
And
So
that's I just think that this country just picks and chooses.
Mhm.
And a lot of times I think it's when people jump on a cause to make them look and appear as if they're something other than what they are.
That they're woke.
Because if it's a trending topic, America's on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? If it's a trending topic, you had certain people complaining about families being separated. So now we have to do something.
Mm-hmm. So we were having a conversation about the election because obviously we're not the minorities on this planet. And I was just like, if we could just get the sovereign nations in Africa we could get together, with the Indigenous in Australia and she said, they'll never leave Africa alone. She said,
they won't.
Gaddafi made Libya one of the richest, most feminist countries on the continent.
Sure did.
And called for the unification of Africa. And USA had him killed.
And what happened?
USA had him killed.
Yep.
Everybody that is somewhat and tries to.
And how was Gaddafi portrayed in the news media?
They made him seem like he was the most
he was
evil
Osama.
man.
He was Osama.
They made him seem like he was pure evil.
But do you see how this country controls the narrative?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the men that you need to be fearful of.
Exactly.
It really isn't.
Who was it? Nefertari or Nefertari? That was what? No, it was Nzinga. Was it Nzinga? That was a bad mamma jamma. She was just like, I sliced you.
She's annihilating everybody.
But you'll never learn that in a textbook.
Well, there's a lot of reckoning because you can't think that you're going to continue to do the same thing over and over again and
never come back to you.
But when it does come back to you, you better pray
God
for mercy.
Mercy on your soul.
But some of y'all so evil, y'all just feel like, you know what? Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
We have a bunch of Damians running around.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so many Damians running around.
Don't get me started.
If you don't understand critical race theory and what critical race theory actually is, don't go by what you hear. It's just like what Dave Chappelle said. You didn't see Michelle, but you got an opinion about it.
And I'm not willing to sit down and talk to you unless you watched it from beginning to end.
Right. Don't go by hearsay. Actually find out what it is.
Right.
And how the curriculum is actually set up before you make an opinion or have an opinion. Or say you don't want it to be done.
But it's only taught in law schools. It's not taught in schools. It's in law schools.
But there are schools that have adapted some curriculums that do talk about race more because of stuff that was going on during the pandemic. That was literally in all of our faces.
Right.
But because it's going to be history.
But and see, this is the thing. Because of what we experienced in 2020, this is why you have to give children context.
Right.
How do you not give the context? And it's so hard because
you can't say it's bad apples. You can't just be, well, there's bad apples.
No, because
there's a systemic reason why.
I'm like, I don't need that pilot to be a bad apple. Like, I need that pilot to know
I need us to land.
To fly me where I'm going. So no, like it can't just be, it's some bad apples.
There's some good and there's some bad.
No,
yeah, I mean,
some jobs you can't have bad apples.
Yeah, you have to give context.
Being a cop is one of them.
You can't
being a teacher is one of them.
You can't
being a doctor is one of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you like this video, be sure to stick around and check out our other content. And of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell. Bing, 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 bing. Anyone have some closing remarks? Yeah, I went from to
It changes the mood. What do
Meek
you think about
Mill.
race?
Meek Mill, he spoke up, and now he getting stuff done. God's willing.
Is he?
Hopefully,
Well, she said God's willing.
God's willing. The common theme is speak up.
And learn. Try to learn everything. Research.
all right.
That all sums it
Well,
up.
here's to researching. Here's to you letting your voice be heard. And if you have something to say, make sure you join the Maven movement. Be sure to click on that subscribe button. Join this movement and be a part of the conversation. To Shauna, to E, to Keish, and to Cho Lubby, I'm Kaya. Good night. Can't get enough content? That's all right. We got you covered. Stay tuned for scenes from the next episode of Up for Debate.
To not follow stories about 12-year-olds with R. Kelly. That's not okay.
Look, you want to be out here shooting people in the park?
And you
No,
see
no.
him on the street, and he looked like he's battling with himself. He's like he's trying to really puff up himself to do it.
He
'Cause
probably
his
turned around and was
camera's
just
everywhere.
like, yo, y'all got the camera ready, right? Make sure you have the camera ready.